So I wanted to share with you how I usually teach silk screening in my classroom when we're live, just maybe for review for my advanced students because this is an option for them, as well as if you're comfortable using an X-Acto knife, maybe you have an X-Acto knife and a cutting mat at home, you can certainly try this. Obviously, I'm not doing this year with virtual learning because A, I can't provide everyone with an X-Acto knife, and B, there's safety concerns and there's a lot more involved in using an X-Acto knife for your silk screening. But I do want to show you just so that you understand. The other thing is I'm doing this silk screen larger than my embroidery ring because now I'm printing on men's large t-shirts. So my original Joy Sherpa shirts were women's extra small, so the design was much smaller. So before you design your final project, you might have your design in mind, but think about scale. Is it going to be small on the top left corner or large in the middle? What size shirt are you printing on? Are you printing on a shirt? Maybe you're printing on the sleeve of something, or socks or pants or whatever, and scale will be affected. Obviously, you're limited to the embroidery ring that I provided for you. But if you really love this process, you could actually go out and purchase a real silk screen. They have all different sizes. This is actually, I think, one of the smaller ones, 8.5 by 11 or maybe 9 by 12. But it fits my computer piece of paper perfectly. Because I designed this in the computer, I could just print it out whatever size I needed it. And instead of using glue to paint the negative space, what I did is I removed the positive space using my paper as my mask. So that's what these are here. These are the little letters that I cut away. The thing you need to know if you're going to do or try something like this is you need to stencil things where there's negative space on the inside. So when I flip this, you can see that there's paper on top and bottom, or tape. You can tape it also to prevent this circle from disappearing. Also, I just realized that part of my A I didn't finish removing, so that would have been masked out and that would not have printed properly. So it's always important too to flip it over so you can see, make sure you removed all the negative or removed all the positive space. So now this is my mask that's going to go under my silk screen. And part of the reason we also do this in the classroom is because these silk screens can get expensive. I think this might be 20 bucks. So times 100 students, that's pretty expensive. So I might have 20 of these in the classroom that all my students can reuse because it's not a permanent screen. I'm going to use the screen to just hold my stencil in place while I'm silk screening, and then at the end of the period I need to make sure I peel that stencil off and I really clean this really well. If there's any ink stuck in there, that's going to mask the next person's design when they go to use this. And again, it works the same way as the embroidery ring. This is the flush side that's going to be against the fabric, and this is where I'm going to put my ink, which is in the well. So let me show you how I did that. Again, I have my newspaper, I've got my smock, let me move this, I've got all my stuff. The only thing I don't have, well actually I do have the sponge in the cup, but because I want to get this really nice and clean when I'm done, I am going to go down to the bathtub when I'm done and really scrub it in the bathtub. My classroom has a nice big sink that's like the size of a bathtub. And again, I am mom, so I know I'm going to clean that bathtub really well. So make sure if you do try this, you let your mom know. I promise, Mom, I'm going to clean it really well. Give me the cleaner. Okay, so again, I have a hardcover board, and you can tell already because it's taking up more of the screen. This is a larger shirt. And because I haven't printed this yet, I'm going to do my first print directly on the shirt. And when I lift it, the paper is going to stick to my screen because the ink is going to serve as almost like an adhesive. So I can kind of take some time and make sure that is centered. My design is very easy to center. And when I do this, I want to make sure, for example, that I don't lay it this way because I could accidentally get ink over there. Now, maybe your paper stencil's smaller, so you can mask it out with putting paper there or tape. You don't want to tape your stencil onto your shirt because when you lift this screen up, it's going to lift some of that paper and it might snap back and then blur your lines. So I know from experience that this is going to stick, the paper is going to stick to my screen, and I want to make sure that I can really get a nice good press on this. Okay, so the rest of this is repeat review, but it's fun. Let's see, I'm going to hold my breath because I did purchase these shirts, so now I really don't want to make a mistake. And the nice thing with this is because I know my mask is solid paper, I'm not going to have those little bits of ink bleeding through my screen like I did with my embroidery ring where the glue didn't fill in some of the holes. So I know that this should print really well. And again, I'm going to add some pressure. Let me rotate so you can see. I'm going to add some of my pressure on here with my left hand and really press through the holes there. Okay. And again, I'm just going to wipe this on the area that doesn't have my design, just to kind of store that ink. And then watch what happens when I lift this. My paper is now sticking. I'm going to hold it this way. See, the paper is sticking to my screen because of the ink. And when I lift it, the A is not showing. So later, while this is wet, I'm definitely not going to try to realign this. I'll never line it up. So later when this is dry, I can actually peel this off and leave this to dry somewhere later. And then realign it when it's all dry and just screen print that one little ink area. This is for my husband, so I'm okay with it. I purposely did his first because I figured if I mess up, I'd rather mess up on his. And then he lives with me, so I can fix it later. This one, however, is for a friend. Because this shirt is bigger, it's like, definitely, I should have taped. Remember with the duct tape, I should have taped that, but because I didn't, and I'm afraid I might have ink on my hands, I'm going to print it sideways here this time. So let's do that. So I'm going to rotate this way now, sideways. And again, I'm going to try to align the O centered and pray that I didn't get this ink from my finger on the shirt. I might have. We'll see. Okay, let's see if this is straight. Ugh. All right, here we go. So again, I'm using my left arm to add weight onto the screen so it's pressed up against the shirt. And this time I definitely don't want to miss the letter A. Going over those letters. Now this is my last screen print. I'm not going to do any more of these, so I'm going to save that ink by scraping it in there. I'm going to, do I have it? Yes, I do. I'm going to throw that squeegee away, and remember I had this big piece? I'm just going to rip it in half, and I'm just going to go bigger, right? And just kind of pick up all that ink. Yeah, that's a nice big squeegee. You can always get another piece of cardboard too, either this piece or something else. Now I'm kind of cleaning it up, and I'm looking to see, sometimes you can see if you screen printed through all of it. And let's set that down. You know, before I lift this, I need to clean my hands because I don't want to get any of this ink on the shirt. So let me just wipe this really well. I think I just made a bigger mess. And clean that off, cleaning my hands. Okay, the big reveal. Dun, 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 dun. Let's lift this straight up. La! Now there's a little bit of bleeding there, and that may happen because my screen starts to get saturated. So again, happy accident. I'm just going to let it go. It printed everything. Now what I'm going to do is very carefully, because I don't want to rip that off. So I'm going to carefully peel this away. Let's go back the other way. Just kind of lift it gently. Now I'm going to put this face up so the ink is facing up on the side to dry. So when this is dry, I can use it again another day. Again, remember I want to print the A. Maybe I want to mass print a whole bunch of these. So these I'm going to let dry and reuse it. And now this, I don't want to let this ink dry in here because all this area is going to get clogged up and I won't be able to use it again. So now I'm going to go to the bathtub and scrub it really well with the sponge. What's going to happen though is it is going to stain, so it'll be kind of gray, but that's okay. Staining is fine. You just don't want clogged holes in the screen. So I want to make sure I get all that ink out while it's still wet. And again, when these are dry, I'm going to iron them. So that will be my last demo.